Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over all the books I read in the month of May. We are halfway through June at this point, more than halfway through June at this point, but I still have to go over what I read in the month of May because I had a pretty good reading month in May. I read a total of 7 books in the month of May, 5 physical books and 2 audiobooks, a couple rereads thrown in the mix. So I am going to jump right in with the books that I reread in the month of May. I reread The Summer I Turned Pretty and It's Not Summer Without You series by Jenny Han. I'm sure you're well aware of it. I am currently working my way through the 3rd book in the series, also a reread for me. I have been enjoying my reread of this series. I did a little reading vlog with The Summer I Turned Pretty, so if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts as I read through this book, definitely check out that video because I'm not going to go too in-depth here now, but loving it, love hanging out with Belly and the boys. I will say that my first read of this book, probably 5 years ago, I was definitely more entertained, but I think that's because I'm already familiar with this story and I've watched the show a few times as well. So I would recommend this series if you haven't read it yet. Jenny Han's writing does improve and mature book to book, I've noticed. So while this one, The Summer I Turned Pretty, reads a little young, I will say it does get a little more mature in It's Not Summer Without You. Not crazy mature, not adult or explicit in any way, just a little more detailed, and the sentences have more depth, emotion, meaning, things like that. That's what I mean by more mature. So The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han and It's Not Summer Without You. I love the little adventure that Belly and Jeremiah go on in this book. I kind of forgot about that whole trip that they take. Again, I don't want to go too much into detail if you are not familiar with the story because I don't want to give any spoilers. So read it if you're interested in knowing more, but still fun. Of course, it's perfect for summer, and season 3 of the show comes out pretty soon, I think. So if you want to binge the books before you binge the show, highly recommend getting to it. In the month of May, I also read this children's novel, The Pug Who Wanted to Be a Mermaid. I also included this in the little reading vlog when I was reading The Summer I Turned Pretty. So again, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this book, definitely check out this video. Overall, this was an absolutely adorable book. If you have children in your life, if you want to read to them, or if they're at the age where they can read on their own, I do recommend this book if they are interested in animal fiction, or if they love the idea of mermaids or the beach, anything like that. It is a series, so there are other books with Peggy the Pug, that's her little name. If you do end up liking this book for you or your children, it's adorable. I think I said it in my little reading vlog back in the beginning of May. It's just very, very sweet and endearing to see a pet want to please their owner and do anything they can to make them happy and fulfill their dreams in whatever way a pet can do that. So The Pug Who Wanted to Be a Mermaid, very, very cute. Also would recommend. I believe that it says, ages 7 to 10. I think they're pretty spot on with that age range. So if you know a kid who is between the ages of 7 and 10, maybe a little younger, if you want to read it to them, definitely pick up The Pug Who Wanted to Be a Mermaid by Bella Swift. The next physical book I read in the month of May is Charlie Thorne and the Lost City by Stuart Gibbs. This is a series. This is the 2nd in a series. It's a mixture of adventure and mystery. Very fast-paced, very entertaining and intriguing. I kind of can't put it down. Once I'm about like 50 to 80 pages in, I kind of just speed through it. That was my experience with this book as well as the first one. The first one in the series, I believe, is called Charlie Thorne and the Last Equation, or the Lost Equation, something like that. I may be a little off, but if you Google it, you'll find it. This one is Charlie Thorne and the Lost City, and basically this series follows Charlie Thorne, who is a young genius, very young. I think she's like 12 or 13 years old. And she is basically blackmailed by the CIA to help them find geniuses, lost equations, lost treasures, and so on. So in the first book, we follow Charlie Thorne as she tracks down Einstein's equation. And in this one, we follow Charlie Thorne as she tracks down a hidden treasure left by Darwin. So well written. I can't wait to pick up the third book. I do highly recommend it. The writing is really, really good. I don't know what else to say other than that. Stuart Gibbs knows how to weave a story really well where you're learning something, but you're also just in it for the adventure and the thrill of it all. I love how he also incorporates really fun facts in his writing, and he does it seamlessly where it doesn't feel like you're sitting in a lecture learning science or history or math or whatever. It's just nicely incorporated into the writing where you're like, is that true? And then you want to fact check it, and you do, and you learn that it is true. For instance, I'll point out this, which I honestly have not stopped thinking about, because this is mind-boggling and fascinating that this is even true and it exists. So we have this quote. I'll read you the quote first. I know there's an unusual family from Italy whose members feel pain differently from other people. Charlie carefully plucked the shard of glass from Esmeralda's palm. They feel it when it happens, but then it instantly fades instead of lingering like it does in other people. So I was like, wait, I need to know if that's true. And I looked it up, and it is true. There is a unique family in Italy, and all of the members of this family have this condition where when they get hurt, they only feel it as the injury happens, but then the pain completely fades away. Like, there is no lingering pain, there are no aches afterward. The recovery still has to happen, but they don't feel the recovery. So it's a risk and a danger for the people who have this condition, because they can have a severe infection and not even know about it until this infection takes them down. But it's also just incredibly fascinating, because something so minor as like a paper cut wouldn't affect them maybe as it would affect me or you. So fascinating. Stuart Gibbs incorporates little facts like that. I also learned that Darwin, yes, we know him for natural selection and evolution, but there was also another naturalist explorer during the same time as Darwin who also discovered a similar theory with natural selection and evolution. And when Darwin found out that this man, what's his name? I wrote it down. Alfred Russel Wallace, that Alfred Russel Wallace was also onto this theory of evolution, Darwin kind of wanted to beat him to it and published his works before Wallace could publish his. So really amazing that you are not only in it for an entertaining story, but you learn a little something along the way. So love that. Would recommend Charlie Thorne and the Lost City. It is middle grade, but I really think anybody could read it and totally be invested and love this story. Charlie Thorne and the Lost City by Stuart Gibbs. I am continuing on with the Anne of Green Gables series. If you have been watching my videos, basically since I've been making videos, you'll know that I've been listening to Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, and I continued on with book 5 in the month of May. Anne's House of Dreams. So sweet. I really loved this edition. I really think it added to this series. While I've been enjoying Anne of Green Gables, I will note between books 3 and 4, while they are amazing, they were maybe a little slower at times for me. But in book 5, I was 100% in it, invested, loved it, loved experiencing this new stage of life with Anne as she's a little older in this house of dreams, the first home that she's in with her husband, and as she's growing her family and making more friends. This story was certainly more sentimental than the last couple, and I love it for that. The sentimentality, the beautiful writing. Again, Ellen Montgomery is so great at imagery and describing nature and all of the power in nature, not just for its beauty, but also its purpose and how it impacts us individually. Whether that's your experience or not, I don't know, but I feel that way about nature. So it's wonderful to get to read that in Anne of Green Gables and through Ellen Montgomery's words. She is incredible, and I look forward to reading more of her books. I read Blue Castle back earlier in the year. I'm loving Anne of Green Gables, and I'm learning that Ellen Montgomery wrote a lot of books. So I'm just happy that I'll have so many works of hers to get through when I am done with Anne of Green Gables. So yes, would recommend Anne's House of Dreams. If you are reading the series and maybe have taken a pause on it, definitely get to book 5, Anne's House of Dreams. Very sweet and special. Last but not least, I listened to Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I also did a whole video on this book, so go back and watch it if you want to hear my thoughts and opinions on this book. This may have been the star of the month of May. It kind of temporarily wrecked me and put me in a little bit of a reading slump because of how good it was. I listened to the audiobook, fell completely in love with it, was 100% hooked. And I knew as I was listening to this audiobook that I was going to listen to it again, that I needed a physical copy. I happened to get my hands on the physical copy at a used bookstore, so that made the month so much better. And again, go watch my video if you want to hear more about my thoughts, because I'm not going to go too deep into it now, being that I did a whole video on it. But love Tom Lake, highly recommend. The audiobook is narrated by Meryl Streep, and she does an incredible job at telling this story, and you feel like you are in it with her. She is telling the story of her brief time as an actress to her 3 daughters during the pandemic. They are on a cherry farm in Michigan. It's summer, so it's beautiful. And these girls are just learning about this time in their mother's life. And we have our main character, who is Laura, and she is voiced by Meryl Streep. And she is a somewhat unreliable narrator, so that adds a little something to the story. Again, it's really good. I liken it to the play of Our Town by Thorne Wilder, and Our Town has a huge part in the story of Tom Lake, so I think it's really beautiful the way that Ann Patchett wrote a meaningful story about life and growing and changing from the day to day, which is so similar to the story of Our Town by Thorne Wilder. Highly recommend Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. Those were the books that I read in the month of May. Overall, a fantastic reading month. I'm happy with what I read. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or if you're interested in reading any of these books. I'd also love to know in general what you read in the month of May and how you're doing with your reading in June. We are almost halfway through the year, which is, I have no words for that. I cannot fathom the fact that we are halfway through 2025 almost halfway through 2025. So I'm sure we're all trying to meet our reading goals for the end of June. Let me know what you're reading, how you're doing on your 2025 reading goals. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.